It's done. Let's talk about the finished product of the new McGolf fitting room and what we did and some things for you to learn if you're going to do it. Welcome back to the McGolf Shop. Jim McCleary, most awarded certified club maker, club fitter, and where we do club repairs, club reviews, and club fittings. If you would, please like, subscribe, swing and hit that bell, and that way you'll get more of these videos when they drop. Okay, it's done. It's done and it's in there, and it took about 2 weeks for construction, and then another probably 2 to 3 days to get it oriented the way that we wanted it to be done. This is the final product. Now, I was going to keep doing these videos that were going to update you about how it went and all that other stuff. My other work, shift work, got in the way on nights. That's over. It's just not going to happen. So what I did is some little tidbits. We're going to talk to you first about is, after the initial video, what happened? How did it get to where it needed to be? What are some of the things I ran into? Let's look at that. Welcome back to the almost newly reformed golf shop, where today we're going to talk about the expansion. If you look behind me, you know when I showed you in the first video, we're talking about what we were going to do. I was standing right about here saying this is where the wall's going to go. And as you can see, it's gone. And we framed it up. We've got all the exterior taken care of. It's totally finished on the outside, and now we're working on the inside. And you can see now we've got the drywall is up, the flooring. Now we ran into a couple of problems just like anybody else in any other build. We actually found some termites, and fortunately it was only in a space about this big. Had the termite guy come over the next day. They're all killed, prevented, whole 9 yards. Life's good because we use a lot of wood in this house. The other one is the floors. Now the floors here, check this out. The floors here were totally uneven. They were completely and totally uneven. And so what happened was we had a leveler or a cement guy. He came out here and he took care of it for us. That's my dad. And so we did the floor leveling, and the cement guy came in. And because it was, when they first initially made it, they made a curve in it so that if for any reason we had any water, it would drain away. Well, that's not the case anymore. So they made it nice and flat. Got the insulation in, got the electricity in for the most part down at the bottom, and now we've got the drywall in, first coat's done. Mrs. McGolf has got me going out to get paint swatches. As part of the updates that we're doing, you know, we told you about, hey, the walls are up. Now my floor is completely square and flat now, and so we're on our last coating of the drywall paste or drywall mud, whatever you guys want to call it, and my ceiling is done. Check this out. So the ceiling is done, except for you see the hanging downs. That's going to be finished today. So we're not too far away. We've got to do the last bit of the wiring, finish the third coat of the mud, and put the floor on. And then it's just about some trim work and change the door around. And I think we'll be loading her back up. All right, so some of the floor needed to be, flattened out just like I showed you. And the walls went up very quickly. The outside is completely new siding because we had to extend it, so we just put new on the outside so that it all looked uniform. And it does. It looks pretty nice. I have to say they did a very good job. We got inside, and once the floor was put down, they got the walls up, the electrical run, the whole 9 yards. You don't see too much behind me, but here's a couple of shots on the floor. Now what you'll see is the flooring is what they call a vinyl flooring, and it locks in. And when it locks in, it creates this waterproof barrier, and it has this, a look that we've been shooting for, because what you see normally in a lot of the bigger fitting areas, the guys that are a little larger, it's all about, it has this industrial mechanical look. and we were going for kind of a different viewpoint on it, in that more of a barn atmosphere and more, more congenial. That's what we were looking for, and I think we hit it. So we can thank Mrs. McGough for picking that one out. We picked the paint. The paint was kind of a we'll call it by an accident. It worked out really well. We picked out two by, when you're looking at paint and you're picking it out on a square that's about an inch square, you really don't get the flavor of it until it goes up. And we're really happy with the grayish style paint. It marries up well with the wood. So we like that as well. All right, so there's now some of the things when you talk about construction, let's just talk about construction in general. Whether you're making a fitting room, adding on a room, or anything, when you go to do this, you need to have a plan in mind, meaning that you got to know how big you want it. You got to know, the general details, because you're always going to include walls, insulation, electricity, flooring, ceiling, light fixtures, trim work, and if there's any exterior work that needs to get done. That's 8 things to consider when you're doing that. And you need to have those checklists so that when the construction guy comes through, the contractor comes through, if he hasn't hit those marks, you want to make sure that's included in that estimate, and that way you're not hit with any surprises. All right, and number 9 is HVAC, right? Heating and air. So there's just a general tip for any kind of extensions or anything when you use a contractor. All right, so now let's talk about the room. All right, when you're going to put the room together, there's a couple of, there's 3 major things that you're really going to be looking for, maybe 4. What are you going to hit into, what are you going to hit off of, what's going to track it, and then how are you going to present it. So let's go with those. Number 1, how are you going to hit into it? Some of the things when setting up a net, you're going to have, see how I put cold water lagging is what I've always called it. It's kind of a Navy thing. You can go get it at the local Home Depots, Lowe's, which is where I got mine. And it's a foam lagging, okay? Foam lagging, and then it's split on one end. It's automatically done that. You saw me when it's not split all the way. You got to run your finger through it and it's all done. Easy peasy to cut. That's not a big problem. But you put it on the poles, and why is that? Ricochets. All right, ricochets. The last thing you need, somebody might actually hit something either in the front, the back, or along the front walls. What it does is it deadens it, right? I had put some foam on when it was outside, thinking that, it's outside, it's no big deal. Well, the ricochets, there was a couple times where they came flying back into the fitting bay in the old setup. So we put the foam all the way around, and that way it deadens the shot. Specifically when you're in a more enclosed room, you really want that. Now, do you need cold water lagging or this stuff? Well, the answer is maybe. Like most things in golf, it depends, right? I like the black. It gives it more of a professional look. In the past, when we were really doing a lot of outside stuff, I used the pool noodles. So we got this up. Now, it's like putting a puzzle together. I've got a 10-foot tall cage, and I got just barely a 10-foot tall ceiling. So when you go to put this up, the connectors, the tubing holds into it like that. So how do you put something like that together? I'm going to help you guys out with this one. This is a tip number 1 for putting a cage together. When your top is all constricted, you pull them out, you make the sides, and then you put them together sideways. How about that? So there's your tip for putting it together. Now what we're going to do is put the net up. Normally, again, I've been doing it outside for so long, it's been a while since I've been restricted inside. Anyway, what I've been using is Velcro, all right? Some pretty heavy-duty Velcro. And what you'll see is it comes in a roll very much like this, right? A very large roll, as a matter of fact. And when you do that, you get them, they normally come to you 9 inches if you buy them from somewhere else. However, that's just going around a naked pole. Now that we're going around this, we're between 11 and 12 inches. 12 inches seems to work pretty good, so it's a nice universal number. You cut them up the middle, right? That way you get twice as many, and they're easy to maneuver because now you can put them through the holes of the netting, and that's the reason why. Do one of these things. Are you ready? We're going to start, and it's going to go like this. And there it is. We got it up. So a little bit about putting it up. Number 1, when you get a net in, it's going to come in a box. And it's going to be very, 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 tight and scrunched up. So you want to put it wherever you're going to put it and let it rest for about a day. And hence the reason why you use those wider strips, okay? That way you don't create this little tearing action on the ropes. When you have the width, then it's easier on the net, right? I've got somewhere in the vicinity of about 30 of these things on here. It's going to be incredibly tight, right, when you go through this. And this has been outside for a while. You see that, how tight that is? Initially, that's what you want. And it's tight across the top. Because the idea here is you want this big open area so that you can give the golfer confidence when they're swinging, that they're not going to hit something. All right, so you saw how it went up, and that's what you're looking at. Now, the one thing I did not talk about was the carpet, right? And the material for which the ball's going to land. It would be very detrimental to the floor if it just kept hitting, you know, the vinyl flooring. It's also going to be really loud, right? Where I'm in a kind of a trapped area, so you need to deaden the area, whether you put on stuff on the walls or on the floors, but everything you need in order to make it deaden. What we really ran into was there was at the local hardware store, Lowe's, that was a remnant piece, and it would just happen to be the perfect size, and it turns out to be the perfect color. Miss McGolf got that one. And we got the padding to go underneath of it. When the balls hit it, it's a dead thud sound. And it also eats up a lot of sound because that's where the sound is traveling. The net, right? Now, you can, you know, for other issues, if you're going to go more simulator fashion, it's more of a canvas style or archery netting, something that will take a projection. Now, that's the reason why the sides are typically darker in that, so that when you project on it, you get, you know, there's no light leakage. And it's just like going to a movie theater. They turn off the lights in order for the movie to be more brilliant and the colors more vibrant when they do that. Same thing in the simulator. And we might see something that along the way. Right now, this is just getting started. All right, number two. Number two is, what are you going to hit it off of, right? What are you going to hit it off of? And that, to me, is vitally important. What you're seeing there is the fiber-built mat. Technically, it's called the 4x9. Now, I've talked about fiber-built before. I've dealt with them since day one. There are other mats out there. Personally, I think this one is the best. It had the stance mat that you see, that's down here. All right, the stance mat that you see here is called the Country Club effect. This is very thick. It's very much like standing on regular turf. There's a give to it. If you look at it, see how my feet are moving when I go to do that? Very much like being on dirt. When they came out with this was a no-brainer for me. I had this on my other mat, but I had just one hitting surface on the outside. Now that I have it hitting in the middle, it's a little different. And then it's a little softer. The bristles in here are a little softer, but the color is just that much better. What you saw when we were putting it together, it's in pieces parts. Now, other ones, if you just get a one hitting bay, may come in a roll, just one big piece. This was smart of them because it allows them to ship it in multiple boxes that are smaller, and you don't get a hernia trying to carry the doggone things. The biggest reason is this thing's going to last. You know, I got 300,000 hits on just one square, and I got 4 squares. So I got a million plus hits. That's going to take me for quite some time before it looks like I'm going to need to be replacing it. And I'm hoping the stance mats go with the same process. So that's the reason why fiber built. You know, I've always said it in my tools of the trade and then doing the repairs. When you get a tool, it's about one and done. I don't plan on buying 50 of them. And that mat is no different than that. Which leads me in the configuration was just exactly that. Now I'm taking credit from Fiberbuilt for this one because I talked to the guys there a long time ago. When the launch monitors were coming out, they were pretty much just directly behind the hitter, save a few of them that were out there in the day. And we talked about a configuration very much like this. Which brings me to point 3, how are you going to detect it? All right. There are plenty of launch monitors out there. And I'm talking about launch monitors. I'm not talking about things to do simulators. I'm talking about things that are going to give you club head data, ball speed data, ball spin data, and all the things that go into what would be considered a professional fitting. And right now there's pretty much about 3 out there that are really big. One is TrackMan, everybody knows that one. The other one is the Foresight, and the one that I use, which is the Flight Scope. Now I've dealt, again, just like Fiberbuilt, I've dealt with the folks from Flight Scope for quite some time now. I don't have any reason to switch. I talk to the people, they're very forthcoming on what's going on. The support is where I need it to be. And when you do these relationships, it's right there. This is 3D Doppler tracking, which means that you're hitting basically into a field of radar that gets started and it collects data. Now what I've been able to do is create a little bit longer flight time so that it picks it up. Pluses, minuses on just real quick type stuff. Pluses, minuses, the radar tracking, the flight scopes and the TrackMan. The minus is that they didn't catch ball spin very well. Well, now there's ways to help with that. One is you get a little extra flight time. I did that. And you have these little metal dots that you can put on the golf ball now that I can go find them. It used to be, we would hit them into the grass and I'd have to wash them, so it was not going to happen. So that is to increase its detection capability. That one we'll see. Then there is the space requirement. You need just so much flight, and you need so much hitting area, and then you need so much behind it, right? Because right where the camera is sitting on my table right now, right below it is where my flight scope is at, which is actually kind of a plus because when you talk about radars, it doesn't really like fluorescent lighting, so I've got it protected. And it seems to be working pretty good right now. So that's a plus for me. On the other one, you can put it off to the side. It's a camera unit with some added radar capability on it, and you put it right in front of where you hit the ball. And what that means is you really don't need a lot of flight time. So I could virtually stand in this net, hit right into it, and it would tell me what I need to know. Now, what you really have is the old argument of detected versus calculated. It's all up to you and how you like it. And the reason why I went with Flight Scope because most of it was detected. I can go outside because I do have the range out here, and I can set it for outdoor mode and it tracks the ball to the ground. There's only 2 that do that. So it just depends on your space availability to what it might be, what your detection capability is. And that's one of the things that you've got to consider. And then you have the way that you're going to project it. Right, the way you're going to project the information that you're giving the golfer, right? Whether it's be on the screen, which if you had an archery net, you could do that. Or if you had a simulator type setup, you could do that as well. If not, then you get to do things like this. Now you see that, just a big old screen TV, and it allows me to project the information that's out there on my computer so that the golfer can see it just as easily as I can. And it works out pretty good. It's a very clear. I like it a lot. I think we're in pretty good shape when we go to do something like that. So you get to see what's going on, and there's technologies available for that as well. So those are the big 3. Now, obviously, the environment is, from a commercial standpoint, you want the environment to be very nice so that everything's forthcoming, blah, blah, blah. But that's for mine. If you're doing it from a personal use, then you work with what you've got, right? And that's really what we need to do. So what I want to do now is we're going to take you around and show you everything that's going on in the shop so you can get a little closer, finish it up with some things going on into the future. like you came around with us, thank you very much. And if you got any questions about it, just put in the show notes below, and we'll tell you what we went through in order for you guys to go through the same thing. And now that we can hit indoors, you know quite readily that the reviews for golf clubs should be much, much easier. Now I don't have to fight the 20-degree weather and the storms that we're supposed to get tons of, nor do I have to fight the 150-degree weather because we have plenty of heating and air in here. So I'm pretty happy with that particular point and setup. So if you got any questions, again, put them in the show notes. And again, let's see your scores go low.